take a look at the phone sitting next to you right now. Or, maybe it's already in your hand.
Yeah, realistically, it probably is.
Right. So think about the app you use to, I don't know, text your friends, coordinate a quick grocery run, or just send a funny meme.
Just the really casual stuff.
Exactly. It's totally casual. It's, entirely frictionless. But what happens if that exact same tiny everyday habit quietly migrates into the control room of a multi-billion-dollar commercial vessel?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's quite a shift.
It really is. So today we are unpacking this fascinating piece of analysis from the Deep Draft. It's an article by Captain Raghu Sharma from December 24th, 2025, and it's all about a phenomenon called the WhatsAppization of ship operations.
Which is just a brilliant term, honestly.
It perfectly captures it,
Right.
right? So our mission today for this deep dive is to explore how a tool we all use for simple convenience is basically quietly dismantling safety and accountability in one of the world's most high-stakes, heavily regulated industries.
And, setting the stage for you as we get into this material, it is super crucial to understand that we are not doing some sort of tech bashing session here.
Right. No, not at all.
Yeah, because smartphones are not the enemy. What we are really examining is human behavior. We're looking at how informality naturally seeps into environments that were, deliberately built to be formal.
And why that creeping informality introduces just a massive amount of hidden risk.
Exactly.
So to really grasp the scale of that risk, I think we need to look at how a ship out in the middle of the ocean actually communicates with its corporate office ashore, and how that has evolved.
Right, because it used to be incredibly different.
Oh, completely. Like decades ago, ships used telex machines. And when a telex came through, it was a literal physical event on the bridge of the ship.
It was hard to ignore.
Totally. It was rare, it was loud, and it carried just immense weight. The technology itself kind of forced you to be deliberate, you know? You only sent urgent navigational warnings or really critical voyage instructions.
Yeah, the limitations of the technology acted as this natural filter for importance.
Right.
You just couldn't spam a telex machine.
Right, exactly. And then when the industry eventually moved to email, it was, a massive leap forward for operational efficiency.
Oh, for sure. You could suddenly attach engine schematics, send detailed weather routing, and track a really complex thread of replies.
But importantly, email preserved the underlying structure of a telex, right? Like it maintained a clear sequence, it had undeniable authorship, and it preserved the intent.
Yes, that formal layer of authority was kept completely intact. It isolated the crew on the water from the executives sitting in a shore office in a really necessary way.
And then instant messaging enters the picture. And the crazy thing is, it didn't come in through some official corporate IT rollout.
Right. Nobody updated the safety manuals to say, hey, here is how you should use WhatsApp to run an oil tanker.
Yeah, it just crept in. And the author uses this brilliant metaphor to explain the psychology behind it. He compared instant messaging in a high-stakes environment to instant noodles.
It is a really profound way to look at it, honestly.
Right.
Because instant noodles solve a very real, immediate problem. You are hungry, they are cheap, and you can make them in 3 minutes.
Right. And if you eat them occasionally when you're in a rush, there's no harm done.
Exactly. But if you rely on them day after day for every single meal, you are eventually replacing actual nutritional discipline with pure convenience.
Oh, yeah.
And in the maritime world, instant messaging essentially filled that awkward space between something being truly urgent and just being convenient.
Wait, hold on though. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. If my ship's engine fails in the middle of a massive storm, I don't care about the sequence of an email chain or the formality of a telex.
You just want an answer.
Right. I want an answer from the technical team ashore immediately. Isn't a direct WhatsApp message to the chief engineer ashore the safest, most logical option in that exact moment?
Well, see, that instinct is exactly what makes this trend so insidious. Because faster feels safer.
Okay, interesting.
But when you actually look at the mechanics of running a massive commercial vessel, speed replacing proper sequencing creates an illusion. It gives you the appearance of control, while your actual operational control is drastically weakening.
Wait, really? How does it weaken control if you're getting answers faster?
Because when you bypass formal channels to get that quick answer, you strip away the context, you lose the version control, and you bypass the structural safety nets designed to catch mistakes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so the use of chat apps didn't instantly make shipping unsafe. What it did was make shipping casual.
And casual is bad.
Extremely bad. In an industry where failure means catastrophic oil spills or lethal collisions, casual processes are basically a ticking time bomb. They always fail later, usually under immense pressure, when there is absolutely no time left to fix the mistake.
That distinction is fascinating. The casualness itself is the threat. And man, nowhere does that illusion of control shatter more spectacularly than during an official ship inspection.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the wheels really fall off.
Yeah, we are talking about events like port state control or vetting inspections. For you listening, think of port state control like a surprise, ultra-strict health and safety inspection for a restaurant.
Except with millions of dollars on the line.
Right. Except if the inspector finds a critical violation, your multi-million-dollar cargo ship gets legally detained at the dock, and your company loses massive international contracts.
It's incredibly high pressure.
And these inspections are highly structured, right? Like, there is a strict, non-negotiable sequence. Observation comes first, explanation follows, and judgment comes last.
And that sequence is the absolute bedrock of a fair safety inspection. An inspector methodically walks the physical deck of the ship. They make an observation about a piece of equipment.
Okay.
Then, they allow the crew standing right there to provide context or an explanation, and only after gathering all those physical facts do they render a final judgment. That physical reality requires time to stabilize.
Right, but then you introduce a live WhatsApp group into that scenario. Now, explanations are being frantically typed into a chat by a junior officer while the physical inspection is literally still unfolding on the deck.
Yeah, it's total chaos.
And the shore office is sitting thousands of miles away in a totally different time zone, reacting to tiny, fragmented text messages.
And you can see the immediate collapse of the process there. The shore office is forming these permanent conclusions based on three-word text messages, while the inspector on the ship is still just gathering preliminary facts.
So the master of the vessel, the captain, ends up fighting a war on two fronts.
Exactly.
They are trying to calmly explain a complex mechanical situation to the inspector standing right in front of them, while their phone is just vibrating in their pocket with 30 all-caps messages from a frantic executive ashore who has already jumped to the worst possible conclusion.
Yes, it completely derails the reality of what's happening on the ship.
It's basically like live tweeting a first date from under the table.
You know, that's a perfect way to put it.
Like, the narrative of how the date is going is solidifying online with your friends before the appetizer has even arrived. You are creating a full-blown crisis back at headquarters based on a typo or a misread facial expression.
Totally. And the crazy thing is, the damage from that doesn't end when the inspector actually leaves the ship.
Really?
Yeah. The analysis introduces this concept called narrative drift, which is deeply psychological. Because the shore office was reacting in real time to fragments, those fragments get assembled into incomplete conclusions back at headquarters.
Oh, wow. So they build a whole narrative out of context.
Exactly. So an issue with a lifeboat that the captain completely resolved on board with the inspector suddenly reappears 3 days later as a massive formal concern from the corporate office.
Even though it was already fixed.
Right. The shore team's reaction lacked the sequence that the physical inspection required, so their understanding drifted completely away from reality.
So you have an executive treating a frantic, out-of-context text message as gospel truth long after the physical problem is solved. That completely subverts the actual chain of command on the vessel, doesn't it?
It fundamentally undermines it.
Yeah.
Historically, the master of the vessel is the ultimate authority on board. Every single piece of communication flowed through them.
They were the bottleneck, but in a good way.
Exactly. They had a complete 360-degree view of what was happening on their ship and what the shore office knew. That isolation historically gave the captain total situational awareness.
But with the creeping informalization of chat apps, junior officers and even just regular crew members are now messaging shore offices directly, right?
Yeah, constantly. They might send a text asking about a wage discrepancy or requesting early relief from their contract or just dropping informal, unfiltered updates about the ship's daily operations directly to a fleet manager.
I mean, that is exactly like an intern deciding to bypass their direct manager, bypass the VP, and text the CEO directly to get approval on a project just because they happen to have the CEO's phone number.
It's exactly like that.
It completely undermines the manager who is actually on the ground responsible for the project's success.
And it creates a deeply problematic psychological dynamic on board the ship. Because when a junior crew member has a direct, instant line to the shore office, it creates this misplaced sense of authority.
Oh, sure. They feel important.
Right. They start to believe that their proximity to power, their ability to text the boss, give them operational standing on the ship.
Wow.
The author summarizes it beautifully. Visibility moves upward, while responsibility stays on board.
So the corporate office suddenly has all this piecemeal visibility into the daily gripes and raw data of the ship, but they hold none of the legal or operational responsibility for it.
Exactly. The chat app enables a system where the captain is left completely in the dark, having basically no idea what information is leaving their ship or how executives ashore are interpreting it.
And bypassing the captain for an administrative task like a wage dispute is terrible for discipline, obviously. But bypassing formal protocols for safety-critical work is literally a matter of life and death.
Yes. This is where it gets incredibly dangerous.
Let's look at high-risk tasks on board.
Hmm.
We're talking about things like entering an enclosed space where toxic gases might be present, or doing complex hot work welding near fuel lines.
Very serious operations.
Yeah, and these tasks nominally require a very strict formal process. You have to identify the hazards, conduct a rigorous risk assessment, and submit that paperwork to the shore office for formal authorization before anyone even touches a tool.
That is the textbook safety architecture. It's designed to keep people alive.
But an instant messaging culture just short circuits the textbook, like a task suddenly becomes time sensitive. The crew texts the shore office asking for a quick review,
Right.
and an executive sitting in an air-conditioned office on land staring at a screen casually types back, "Yeah, looks fine. The formal assessment will be approved shortly in the system. Go ahead and start the job."
Yeah. And it happens all the time.
This honestly sounds like doing the safety check on a roller coaster after the car's already left the station.
Oh, definitely.
Like, you are dropping down the first massive hill, and the ride operator is casually texting the mechanic, "Hey, brakes look good on your end, right?"
That is exactly what is happening mechanically. The formal risk assessment, which exists specifically to force people to stop and think before doing something dangerous, becomes purely ceremonial.
It's just a box to check.
Yeah, it turns into a piece of paper produced after the decision has already been made. The analysis calls this risk displacement. You are not managing the risk, you are just displacing it.
And I imagine the interface doesn't help either.
Not at all. Part of the reason this happens is the user interface itself. A chat app looks exactly the same, whether you are texting your spouse to pick up dry cleaning or authorizing a crew to enter a potentially lethal environment.
It totally strips away the gravity of the decision.
Exactly. The medium trivializes the message.
So the work is proceeding under this highly informal, casual assurance from the shore office. But if the absolute worst happens, if there is a fatal accident or a massive fire, what happens to that assurance?
Well, that's the scary part.
Because in many of these chat apps, people use disappearing messages. The message just vanishes after 24 hours. The shore office suddenly has total deniability, and the responsibility falls solely and crushingly on the crew who actually turned the wrench.
Which exposes a massive vulnerability in the legal and commercial realities of modern shipping. I mean, if safety protocols are degrading into auto-deleting text messages with emojis, we have to look at what happens when millions of dollars are on the line.
Right. Let's talk about commercial voyage orders. These are major decisions regarding the ship's routing, its speed, its fuel strategy, and its deliberate exposure to extreme weather.
Decisions that dictate whether a voyage makes a profit or results in millions of dollars of cargo damage.
Exactly. And historically, those orders are heavily vetted, officially documented, and formally transmitted. But now, they are increasingly being fired off ad hoc via instant messaging.
Yeah, you just get a WhatsApp blue tick.
Right. That little icon proving a message was read. But a blue tick only conveys regency. It does not convey legitimacy. There is no audit-grade record, no clear chain of authority, and zero version control.
This is the critical difference between true digitalization and mere informalization. True digitalization forces discipline.
It forces you to do things right.
Exactly. A proper software system creates a robust, unalterable ledger of who made what decision and when. Informalization completely bypasses those systems.
So it's basically the Wild West.
It is. And when a dispute goes to a maritime court or an arbitral tribunal, those bodies are increasingly treating instant messages as admissible evidence of intent. But the informality of the medium offers absolutely zero legal insulation.
Okay, let's play this out realistically for a second. Are you saying an executive ashore can text a captain, urging them to take a faster, much riskier route through a storm system to save time and fuel? And then the message auto-deletes. The The ship takes the route, sustains massive structural damage, and the executive can just walk into a courtroom and say they never gave a formal order, leaving the captain to take the absolute full fall for the disaster.
That is the precise mechanism of the liability shift we're talking about. The ship executes the physical action, the master commits their entire career and license to the maneuver, but the corporate office retains a comfortable legal distance.
Wow. That is terrifying.
It really is. The chat app has evolved into this shadow operating space. It runs parallel to the formal, heavily regulated frameworks of maritime law, but it carefully sidesteps all the protections and accountability those frameworks were built to enforce.
Okay, looking at the reality of the modern world, though, instant messaging is not going back in the bottle.
No, definitely not.
No one is tearing out Wi-Fi routers and installing telex machines again. So how does a high-consequence industry actually fix this? How do you harness the unbelievable speed of these tools without completely sacrificing the structural integrity of your operation?
Well, the analysis offers a very pragmatic approach, which they call the deep draft position.
Okay, what's the first step?
The first step is simply acknowledging what chat apps are actually good for. They are perfectly fine for routine coordination, organizing crew welfare events, or non-interpretive updates.
Right. Simple stuff.
Exactly. If you just need to tell the office, hey, the port agent has arrived on board, a text message is highly effective. It reduces delay and requires no interpretation.
So you keep the instant noodles for a quick snack, but you don't serve them at a five-star dinner.
Exactly. The solution is drawing a hard line. Keep instant messaging entirely away from complex decisions, safety approvals, and commercial voyage orders.
Okay, but human nature basically guarantees that a casual chat about the weather will occasionally evolve into a concrete operational decision. What is the mechanism to actually fix that when it happens?
When a chat does cross that line into operational decision-making, it must be anchored back into a formal channel immediately. The recommended fix is incredibly simple. Just a follow-up email.
That's it. Just an email.
Yep. Just a quick message through the official system stating, further to our earlier discussion on WhatsApp, we will proceed with this specific course of action.
Okay, I see.
That simple act of writing an email restores sequence, authorship, and intent. It pulls the decision out of the shadow space and puts it back into the official safety management system where it can be audited and tracked.
I can already hear people groaning at that advice, honestly.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, you finally have a completely frictionless way to communicate. You agree on a plan in 3 seconds via text, and now you have to open your laptop and type out an email just to document what you already agreed on.
Yeah, feels redundant.
Right. Isn't that the exact kind of annoying corporate busy work that slows everything down and makes people hate their jobs?
It absolutely feels like friction in the moment. But the analysis makes a profound point about why that friction is strictly necessary. This isn't duplication for its own sake.
What is it then?
Well, speed and traceability serve two fundamentally different purposes in a high-stakes environment. Speed moves the physical work forward. Traceability protects the work.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it protects the legal standing of the company, and most importantly, it protects the people actually doing the dangerous jobs. Friction forces you to pause and verify. Discipline is rarely convenient in the moment, but it lasts a lot longer and protects a lot better than convenience does.
Man, when you really look at the mechanics of it, we have traced a path from the deliberate physical clatter of a telex machine to the silent, invisible danger of a smartphone notification.
We really have.
We've seen how the psychological pull of trying to communicate faster can collapse the sequence of a safety inspection. We've explored how it bypasses the physical authority of a ship's captain and how it quietly displaces the legal risk of dangerous work squarely onto the shoulders of the crew.
It changes everything.
It boils down to a single, undeniable truth, really. Convenience is not governance. A lack of communication doesn't make commercial shipping fail. Communication escaping discipline makes shipping fail.
That is the ultimate takeaway here. The technology didn't alter the physics of how a massive cargo ship operates on the ocean. It just revealed how incredibly easily we're willing to set formality and safety aside in the name of momentary convenience.
Wow. Yeah.
And it is crucial to remember that while the communication becomes informal, the responsibility for those decisions remains entirely real.
We have covered some intense ground today, looking at how a simple app is quietly upending the structural reality of the maritime industry. But as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to turn the lens back on you.
Exactly. Because this isn't just about cargo ships. If a simple, everyday chat app can fundamentally alter the power dynamics, the risk assessments, and the legal accountability of a heavily regulated, multi-billion-dollar global industry without a single official policy ever being written to allow it on one. What informal communication habits are secretly rewriting the rules, shifting liability, and bypassing safety in your own workplace?
That is a brilliant, slightly terrifying question to carry with you. I guess it's something worth looking for the next time your phone buzzes with a quick, casual request from the boss.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the hidden currents of modern communication. We'll be back next time to unpack another stack of sources and help you find the signal in the noise. Until then, keep questioning the convenience.